And welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Adjustments and Appeals for February 23rd, 2022. At this time, would you please stand up and join me as we pledge allegiance to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag to the republic of nation. All right, thank you very much. Let's see, I'm still trying to get this thing better. All right, next up is roll call, please.
Chairman Taylor.
Here.
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez. Here. Member Van Dieven. Member Wheelis. Here. Alternate Member Van Zildjian.
Very good. So we have a full quorum of 5, and so we will do business tonight. Next up is approval of the minutes for the January 26th meeting. I was not physically here myself, so did y'all see any corrections or additions that need to be added?
I did not. I'll move to approve the minutes.
Did not see any. May I have a motion to approve? Oh, you motioned it. I'm not listening.
I second your motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And no opposed, right? Great. Okay, next up, a little reading time. All right. All persons who anticipate speaking on any public hearing item must fill out an oath card to be heard on that agenda item and sign the oath contained thereon. These cards are located on a table near the entrance to the council chamber or may be obtained from the recording secretary. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the procedures adopted in Resolution Number 24-1997. Those speaking in favor of a request will be heard first. Those opposed will be heard second, and those who wish to make a public comment on an item will speak third. The applicant may make a brief rebuttal if necessary. A representative for either side, for or against, may cross-examine a witness. Anyone who speaks is considered a witness. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents that you desire the commission to consider, they must be submitted into evidence and will be retained by the city. You will submit those exhibits to the recording secretary. Just double checking, has everyone filled out one of the little cards I was just speaking about that are on that little table that plan to speak tonight, right? All right, thumbs up everywhere. Very good. The staff, has all the items been properly advertised for this evening?
Yes.
Wonderful. And members of the board, have we had any contact with the public or had anything that you need to let us know about? No conflicts. And I have none either. Seeing none of that, we have no consent agenda, we have no old business, so we'll go right to new business. And the first one up I see is Variance 4-2022, which is address is 2300 Fox Hollow Drive. All right, staff, would you enlighten us, please?
Sure. So the item begins on page 11 of the agenda. You guys take a second to get there. So the applicant, Rescom Contractors, LLC, is requesting a variance to Section 30-332, required landscape yards, to allow less than the minimum 20-foot landscape yard requirement for property located in the multifamily high-density residential zoning district. The applicant is proposing to develop a 4-unit structure on the property for the multifamily dwelling, and the request is to reduce the landscape yard by 10 feet. So the surrounding zoning districts to the north, south, and east is multifamily high density, and to the west is the single-family medium density. The property is 10,800 square feet in size, and the property has 90 feet of frontage on Fox Hollow Drive. The property is currently vacant, and the proposed use is for the development of the multifamily unit, which will be 1,020 square feet per unit. And I'll go ahead and read the powers of the BAA. So A, special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning. B, special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. C, granting the variance requested will not confer upon the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the ordinance to other lands, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district. D, the literal interpretation of the provisions of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of the ordinance. E, the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. F, the granting of the variance will preserve the spirit of the ordinance and remain in harmony with its general purpose and intent. G, in granting the variance, the public safety and welfare must be assured. And H, in no case shall the granting of variance result in a change of use, which would not be permitted in that zoning. So I'll move ahead to the analysis. So the applicant is requesting a variance to allow less than the required 20 feet of landscape for a landscape buffer for multifamily development within the Fox Hollow subdivision. Section 30-332 of the code requires a 20-foot landscape buffer for multifamily residential developments. The applicant wishes to reduce the landscape buffers to 10 feet along the front and side yards of the property. The applicant explained that due to the property being platted in 1983, complying with the existing requirements of the 20-foot landscape buffer would cause the property to be non-cohesive and incompatible with the surrounding lots that are developed with the multifamily dwelling units. The applicant wishes to develop the property so that it appears identical with the surrounding dwellings. In addition, being that the surrounding lots are developed with multifamily dwellings, the applicant believes the design of the proposed development should be similar in architecture, landscaping, and parking conditions. The applicant wishes to develop the multifamily structure with 2 dwellings each on the first and second floor. It is located in the R3 zoning, and which is intended for a density in dwelling units of 15 acres or 15 units per acre. A 20-foot landscape yard would cause a decrease in the available parking dimensions and the available building footprint. A 20-foot landscape yard would also eliminate 690 square feet of the available building footprint. The R3 zoning requires a minimum 800 square feet per unit, and reducing the landscape buffers should not impact the required plannings per section 30-335. The property was platted in 1983, and the existing homes in the area were constructed in 1984, and at the time did not require a 20-foot landscape yard requirement. A 10-foot drainage and utility easement is located along the south landscape buffer, and the proposed development should not impact that easement. So staff does recommend approval of the request. In granting the variance, the literal interpretation of the provisions of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district. The dwelling developed with the required landscape yards should cause for a lesser building footprint and parking dimensions than the surrounding properties. In addition, the variance will preserve the spirit of the ordinance and remain in harmony with its general purpose and intent. A 10-foot landscape yard buffer in the side and front yards should remain in harmony with the surrounding structures in the area. So if we move ahead to page 14 of the agenda, that depiction, that yellow is the 20-foot landscape yard. So essentially what the landscape yard would be, the existing landscape yard would be, and with the variance, they're requesting to reduce it 10 feet. So essentially, if you cut that in half all the way around, that would be the proposed landscape yard buffer. So we do see with the 20-foot landscape yard buffer, it does encroach into the available building footprint or the proposed building footprint of the property on both sides, on the north and south ends, as well as the parking structures. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, staff. Are there any questions of staff on this report? None. Oh, here we go.
Staff, in looking at the site plan that was submitted, there's, it's page 27. There are two, looks like specimen trees that look like they're those for the front yard in that front setback. Is that accurate? And that would be in conjunction with the 10-foot setback?
So as far as what the required landscaping would be, that would be determined at the site plan review level. As far as, you know, what is required, I believe these are the proposed trees. So whether or not those trees fall in line with what's required by the code, that would have to be determined later on the site plan review.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions or don't see any lights on? Well, thank you, staff. So at this time, we'll open it up for the public hearing. Do we have any cards, please, to be spoken?
Yes, sir. Matt Meridian.
All right, sir, welcome. If you would come up and give us your name and your address for the record, please. And there's a button there, it should say talk. Thank you.
Hello, staff. I appreciate it. My name is Matt Meridian. I'm the owner of the property. We actually own 3 lots there, and I think he's been pretty thorough by explaining what we're attempting to do. We're not trying to do anything different than what's already there. About half of the lots have already been developed back in the 80s, and a lot of these rules and regulations did not exist back then. So essentially what we've done is taken the exact same footprint from what we've seen from the surrounding properties and duplicated that. So we're trying to create good affordable housing in the area. We understand there's a big need for that with house prices that are skyrocketing. Rents are getting out of control, and we tend to go on that lower end to that mid-range for the rents. We have several units being developed across the state, and we like the Titusville area. I live in Orlando. My address, by the way, 349 Agnes Street, Orlando 32801. So I don't think I really have anything else to add other than we're not asking for anything outside of what already exists there. Just there's the unfortunate element of the codes being new, and we'd like to ask for this variance, and hopefully you guys will accept what we have proposed.
You stated you own several different properties. Are there plans possibly to build more units there in the future?
Correct. I don't remember the exact addresses, but off the top of my head, I believe it was 2301 and 2311. So they are all on the same street right next to each other.
Okay. So
It was my understanding that all 3 were actually supposed to be on this, and somehow there was a snafu, and we only got 1 entered onto the docket, so I may be seeing you next month.
all
Again, with
right.
the exact same proposal, no differences on those as well.
I remember it then. Any other questions of this witness? Getting off easy.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you, staff.
Thank you. Do we have any other cards to speak tonight?
Paul Abate.
All right. Welcome. Your name and address for the record, please.
Paul Abadi and 8721 Pine Barrens Drive, Orlando, Florida. I'd be beating a dead horse if I just said everything that he just said and what staff said. I'm the contractor. I'm local. I grew up, graduated from Titusville High School. So for me, it's a great honor to be here building in my hometown. I just want to say thank you to staff for all their help in guiding my team to putting this application together and presenting something that makes sense to you guys. So that's all I want to say is just thank you.
Any questions of this witness? All right, you're off even easier. All right, I'll leave it on later. Thank you very much. All right, do we have anybody else to speak?
No, sir.
Very good. And we will close the public hearing part and bring it back to the board. Do we have any further questions of staff or any comments to be made? My son lived at this complex several years ago, and I'm glad to see it being the thoughts are finishing on out because, yes, it would be nice to have the extra housing available in town. Anything else? Have anyone? Motion, please.
I move to
Go right ahead.
approve variance 4-2022 at 2300 Fox Hollow Drive to reduce the landscape buffers down to 10 feet on the side and front.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second, please?
I second it.
Very well. Any further discussion? Seeing none, may we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Taylor?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez?
Yes.
Member Van Deven?
Yes.
Member Wheelis?
Yes.
Alternate Member Van Zildjian?
Very well. So, congratulations. Moving on to our next item, which I see is variance number 5-2022. And the address is 4040 Bramblewood Avenue. Accessory structure. F, please.
All right, so this item begins on page 41. So the applicant, Stephen M. Stokes, is requesting a variance to section 28-391G2, residential accessory buildings and structures, to allow less than the minimum 7.5-foot requirement for side yard setbacks for detached structures, detached accessory buildings and structures for property located in the single-family low-density zoning district. The surrounding zoning districts to the north, south, east, and west is the single-family low-density. Second. So lot characteristics, the property is 8,295 square feet in size. The property has 140 feet of frontage on Bramblewood Drive. The detached single-family dwelling is currently on the property. I've already read the powers of the BAA, so I'll skip ahead to the analysis. So the applicant is requesting a variance to allow less than the required 7.5-foot side yard setback for detached accessory buildings and structures for the placement of a shed and carport in the rear yard. Per section 28-391G2, residential accessory buildings and structures require a side yard setback of 7.5 feet in the R1A zoning district. The request is for the shed and carport to encroach 2.5 feet into the side yard setback that is located on the existing concrete driveway, which runs adjacent to the home and property. The applicant stated that due to the irregular configuration of the lot, the placement of the home on the property, and the existing grading on the property, the placement of the shed 7.5 feet away from the property line proves difficult. An existing concrete slab is located outside of a 5-foot public utility easement that runs alongside of the property. The applicant is proposing that the shed and carport be aligned with the boundaries of the concrete slab, which will cause for the 2.5-foot encroachment into the side yard setback. The proposed shed is 12 feet by 12 feet, and the carport will run 48 feet from the rear of the concrete slab towards the front of the home. Although the property is irregular in shape, there is no evidence to indicate that the side yard setback of 7.5 feet cannot be complied with as determined by the code. The placement of the proposed shed and carport 7.5 feet away from the property line does give the applicant beneficial use of the property while remaining outside the utility easement. The applicant did state that moving the proposed structure further away from the side yard property line closer to the home would impact drainage from the home and the pool area, although surveys and plans that have been submitted by the applicant we haven't been able to determine that. The applicant wishes to have the additions be placed on the existing concrete slab so that it is more aesthetically pleasing with the surrounding property. And abiding by the 7.5-foot setback would require a portion of the shed and carport to be located on the grass, unless the applicant were to make the concrete slab bigger, which would be 2.5 feet by 60 feet, which would be 2.5 by 60 feet addition to the concrete slab. So staff does recommend denial of the request to allow a variance of 2.5 feet for the encroachment of the shed and carport. In denying the variance, special conditions and circumstances do result from the actions of the applicant. The lot in its existing configuration does give the applicant the ability to place the proposed structure outside of the 7.5-foot side yard setback and still have beneficial use of the property. So if we move ahead to page 44 of the agenda, we see that the concrete slab runs from the front of the home, the front driveway, all the way towards the rear of the home. And the proposed shed in blue is obviously where the proposed shed would be located. And that's where the concrete slab, the boundaries of the concrete slab exists at the moment. And the carport, you see that 48 feet going from east to west would be the length of the carport as well. Let's see here. So some pictures were provided along with the plans to kind of show you what the applicant was talking about with the grading. There is a bit of a drop off from the rear of the concrete slab towards the rear of the lot. It's about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet. On page, not sure what page that is, but the following picture shows the current concrete slab, what the existing boundaries are, so that that concrete slab is currently encroaching 2.5 feet into the side yard setback. So being that the shed and carport are vertical structures, that is what it is tripping the encroachment. So the applicant would like to have the shed and the carport be consistent with the boundaries of the concrete slab, unless he were to make an addition to the concrete slab on the other end so that it's not encroaching into the side yard setback. And that concludes my presentation.
When you say on the other end, looking at page 59, what's the other end that you're referring to?
Give me 1 second. Trying to find page 15. Okay, so what is your question exactly?
You said unless they extend I think you said something to the effect of extending the concrete to the other side,
Correct.
closer to the bottom of this picture or closer
Closer
to the pool?
it's closer to the home. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so pour a little concrete to, well, I'm looking at the picture to the right, closer to the pool,
Correct.
and use that. Okay.
Staff, when I look at the other pictures, I can see a little dip or a swell to the rear. But to that side there, does the yard slope any picture of that side? Which,
So that's the thing. There is a 20-foot easement, I believe it is, towards the rear of the property that runs along the rear of the property. But as far as what's any drain or any easement right alongside that concrete slab, there is none. As far as any dip, that dip runs along the rear of the property, same as the easement, essentially.
Okay.
So it dips into the easement.
okay, dip is just on the back side right now.
Correct.
The rear, should I say. Okay. Are there other questions of staff? All right, seeing none, we'll open it up to the public hearing, and our first card, please.
Steve Stokes.
Welcome, Mr. Stokes. Your name and address for the record, please, sir.
It's Steve Stokes, 4040 Bramblewood Lane. And I'm not asking for a 60-foot variance. It's only a 48-foot. If you look at the plans, it shows 48 foot from the back of the shed to where it is. Just a correction on the type, as it might have been a typo here. And also brought pictures of what's actually there, what I'm doing. Pardon me? I've got this, this is it, yeah. It was $200 to get these done, kind of. On picture one, okay, here, I'll get it for you. On picture one, you can see the gate, it's an 11-foot gate. And on the left side of the gate, I've got my gas meter and the power on the wall, so I can't move the gate anything, any other direction. And on the right side, there's the power is coming underneath there, real close to that pole, so I can't really maneuver the gate any. On picture two, you see the green flags. If I was to move it over 2.5 foot, that's where the concrete would be. And if you're backing the boat and trailer, or boat and truck is 49 foot long. And coming through an 11-foot gate, getting over that point it's impossible to do. I can't do it. I'm pretty good at, backing up a boat. And three, that's another shot of it. And the very top green flag is where the 48-foot is. So there's no way I can get the boat from where it's at in the driveway over there. And then 4 shows, how much room I have going through the gate. And there's not much room with the boat to try to get it maneuvered and get it cocked around. Still missed the pool heater, the pool pump, and everything. And it's the same picture there. And the grass area, there's all my pool plumbing runs right through that grass area. So you don't want to cover that up. I got to keep getting to that. And then the 6th picture is when I'm backing it in, the one mirror is only got 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches away from the pole, just to get it where it's at. And I've already moved about 1.5 feet to 2 foot, as you can see by the sidewalk on that picture, a little over, just to kind of get it my 12 foot in. And I don't see any way I can move it over 2.5 foot.
Sir, who measured and marked the flags in your photos?
Pardon me?
Who measured and marked the flags in your photos? Okay.
I'm an inspector for Orange County. I work, and I've done layout and all that, so. And when I turned in all my paperwork, I went around, before I did that, I went around to all the neighbors who it would actually affect and got signed letters and the site plans and brought them in and turned them with all my paperwork. I don't know if you guys ever got them or not.
What is the height of this unit you're going to build?
The shed?
Yes.
I think you've got a plan. It should say it's setting on 8 inches of lintel block And I think it's 7, so it'd be, I think it's 13 foot.
feet up at the peak. No, that's a slope. So you go, the pre-hung door, be closed?
I'm going to do the pre-hung door on the west side, I guess it would be, or I mean this north side, and then it's going to be a 6-foot door on the east side, so I can pull my lawnmower and that, you know, that stuff in it. We haven't got. When we went to the variance, I kind of put my engineer on hold until we found out everything to finish it.
Mr. Chairman, in question, it's 14 feet up of the
14.
Because it's sitting on the 8 inches of lintel block. That way it keeps all the wood up and doesn't rot, and then it's going to have hardy board on the side.
Would the front be enclosed?
Yes.
Oh, have it completely?
Yeah, it'd be a 36-inch door on the north side, and on the east side will be a pull-out door, 6-foot barn door.
Uh-huh.
Are you pouring more concrete? That's what's needed, or no?
I don't want to, no. Because there's no way I could actually, if I pour it, I can't get my boat over there to utilize it, so.
So the 12 by 12 part of that is going to be on the grass anyway.
Yes, everything would fit on the 12 by 12, yeah. Is that what you're asking?
How wide is your concrete slab right now?
It's 12 foot right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. I was looking at the 11. Gotcha.
So if you moved it, you'd have to pour more concrete to have it go sideways
Well, then,
and
yeah,
just leave the other.
and I'd have to
vacant.
move the pump to, yeah,
Okay.
I don't know where I'd put the pump, but
So other questions of this witness?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. You have an existing driveway there.
Right.
And you want to put on that driveway at the end, you want to put this shed.
yes.
And this shed is going to house,
Pardon me?
and what is this shed going to house?
It's a lawn equipment.
Lawn equipment.
Yeah. In my boat would go, it'd be the shed, then like a little 5-foot walkway, and then a carport where I could put my boat underneath.
Okay, okay. Shed's just in the back. The front is
Carport.
open where the
Yeah.
boat is.
So,
I'm thinking one.
yeah, so my question is why can't the shed just be moved to the side and then up a little? You still have all that runway with the driveway that exists, because the boat's not going to go into the shed. It looks like you do have some room if you move this over. Wrong?
Yeah, I don't think you're quite, if you move it over 2.5 foot,
Yes, sir.
you aren't gonna, I can't get the boat and everything in.
He can't, if he does that, he's gonna put a structure here, so it's gotta come over 2.5 feet, so he's gotta go in an angle. And that's in the way.
And the boat and the truck's 94 foot or 49 foot long, and it just doesn't, there's not enough room.
Shed is behind,
That's correct.
saying, head over. Don't-
But he's gonna put a covered garage for this up here. Can't put it over here, it's gotta move over. He's gotta pour concrete all the way to the front. So you gotta come in at an angle.
And it wouldn't look good if you have the shed sitting here and a carport sitting here. It wouldn't look good at all. You want it all lined up to make it all aesthetically nice for everybody to look at.
Because I don't see any drawing that shows the dome that's over the boat. That's why I was confused.
Okay.
I heard carport,
Mm-hmm.
didn't see the structure for a car. port,
Okay.
All right, to protect it. So that's where my confusion started. What we have is the shed dimensions and not looking at the umbrella over this.
And I probably won't use the whole 48 foot. It'd probably be more like 44 foot.
But that will be open on the sides. and
If
the
that's
front.
if that's what you guys wish, it's fine with me.
Had you planned on enclosing it?
I kind of wanted to put sides down, at least part way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just to keep some of the sun off the side of the boat, but that's, to me, that doesn't make one, I just want to keep all the leaves and from the neighbors and all that stuff out of the boat.
So I'm on drawing page 57. I'm looking at the shed. So will the carport thing be similarly the same?
I'm going to do the eave type. I think it looks better than the ones that rounded.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it looks
So it's gonna
it
look
looks
like the way you got
classier.
it drawn for the shed, it's the same.
Yeah,
You want to come all the way out with the
Yeah.
same look.
yeah.
I couldn't understand about that door. I didn't.
Yeah, because I don't have, like I said, I don't have the rest of it done because I kind of put it on hold and
Okay. So I know. Are there any other questions for this witness? Anybody? Not yet. Not yet. These are very nice pictures.
you
by the
can
way.
keep those. I've got
We'll
plenty of
turn
them right
in.
here. Okay. Is
We'll be turning them in to the recording secretary.
that everything then? Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, have no other questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any other cards, please?
No, sir.
Okay. Were the letters included with this package for us?
The letters were not included with the application.
Getting the letters?
Do you know who you sent that to? As far as the package, I didn't get that in the package, but I can check in the folder. Maybe whoever took it and dropped it in the folder for that variance. Want to give me a second.
I was just concerned that the neighbors were aware what was next door.
Well, it's a funny thing because to comply with the code, it moves the structure more in the middle of the backyard property's view, as opposed to just keeping it on the side near the fence already there. On the other hand, it's possible to comply with the code, probably. Does the code exactly make it real? Maybe not.
The package does contain a pre-typed statement that's entitled neighbor notification, and there are several signatures, and it says I blank, and the first one is Jerry Anderson, live at blank 3985 Bramblewood Lane. Understand that the owners of 4040 Bramblewood Lane are proposing to build a 12 by 12 foot barn style storage shed and a 12 foot by 30 foot carport. We understand that they will not be built on the 5 foot utility easement, but will not meet the 7.5 foot setback. We have no objections with the placement of the shed and the carport as shown on the attached site plan. So this is an 8-page document. Page 1 is Jerry Anderson. Page 2 is the site plan that you've seen. Page 3 is another neighbor, Jane Wolfinger at 4020 Bramblewood Lane with the same pre-typed language. And then the site plan, third neighbor is Arthur J. Peterson, who lives at 3030 Mulberry Drive, Titusville, Florida. Same statement. These statements were obtained and signed in January. And the next page after that is the site plan. And then the fourth neighbor who signed a similar or identical notification is Corinne Crawford, who lives at 3020 Mulberry Drive, and again, signed January 8th, 2022.
That catches both neighbors on the sides and both neighbors to the rear.
I would defer to the applicant.
I know. It does. Yes, this is both neighbors on both sides. Would you come back a microphone, please, sir? Just so we can have it on record. Hear your response.
The two neighbors were behind me.
Yes, that's Mulberry.
Yeah, that's Mulberry. And the other neighbor was to the west of me. And the other neighbor was across the street, but he'd be looking straight at it.
Directly across the house.
Yeah, he's just right across the street from me.
Neighbor that signed next door is the one, the shed would be right next.
Yes, and that's
Right
Jane.
beside.
Yes, Jane.
Okay. The other two are Mulberry.
Yeah.
Right. I thought it was, but confirmed. All right. Any other cards? I'm sorry.
No, sir.
All right. So we'll close the public hearing at this time and bring it back for discussion or motion here with this group. Thoughts? I personally can see a problem trying to get the boat at an angle. If we moved it over, unless he'd have to pour more slab, that would still have the other slabs, so it'd take up more impervious area to the yard.
Well, what he chooses to use carport for and how large the boat is, neither here nor there. I mean, can he comply with the code? Does the code make sense in this particular scenario? He can buy a smaller boat if that's what the real problem was. So I don't think that the code necessarily makes a whole lot of sense in this particular juncture because it moves the structures really in the middle of the property, causing the neighbors probably to have more of a problem with it. But what he puts under it doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Comments?
I like what he's keeping the shed line of the house. There seem to be a lot of trees blocking one side.
Not on his property. Yes, sir.
As a former floodplain manager, more we can increase the impervious, keep the footprint smaller.
It's already there.
That's correct.
Comments from you, sir? All right. All right. Don't see anybody else wish to speak on the matter or ask staff any more questions. So do I have a motion, please?
I make the motion to approve variance 5-2022 at 4040 Bramblewood Lane for the accessory structure.
All right. Staff, is that sufficient?
As presented in the concept.
I'm sorry,
Would you like to add as presented in the concept?
as presented in the concept. Thank you.
You? Do I have a second, please?
I'll second the motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second. May I have roll call, please?
Member Van Deven,
Yes.
Member Wheelis,
Yes.
alternate member Van Zildjian,
Yes,
Chairman Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez.
Congratulations. You're all set, sir. I'll go to the next one. $66? Yeah, there. Okay, next up in the hit parade is variance number 6-2021. That is 4230 Osceola Road with a side corner setback. So staff, would you enlighten us, please?
Sure. This item begins on page 68 of the agenda. So the applicant, Pedro J. Pineda, is requesting a variance to section 28-305C, intensity and dimensional standards, to allow variance of 2.5 feet for the minimum 20-foot setback requirement for a side corner yard or bathroom addition at property located in the single-family high-density zoning district. The surrounding zoning districts to the north is a single-family medium density, to the south, single-family high density, to the east and west, multifamily high density. Lot characteristics: the property is 9,375 square feet in size. The property has 75 feet of frontage on Osceola Road and 125 feet of frontage on Knox McCrae Drive. The property currently has one single-family dwelling located on the lot. I've already I've already went over the powers of the BA, so I'll skip ahead to the analysis. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow less than the 20-foot required setback for a side corner yard for additions to the home. The section 28-305C, the required side corner yard setback is a minimum of 20 feet. The applicant is requesting a variance of 2.5 feet for the addition of a bathroom to the home. The applicant stated that due to a previous variance that was granted on the property, the request is to extend the existing wall that encroaches into the side corner setback for the placement of a bathroom. The applicant stated that they do not wish to further encroach into the side corner yard setback, but to extend the existing building wall westward so that the wall runs parallel with the side property line. In 1996, the request was approved for a variance of 17.5 feet for the existing structure to encroach 2.5 feet into the side corner setback. The Board of Adjustment and Appeals at the time approved the request, specifically with the condition that any future structure or building expansion in that area be required to meet the side corner setback requirement. That variance was variance 12-1996. Therefore, any proposed improvement shall adhere to the 20-foot side corner yard setback requirement. There are no special circumstances with the property that would impede the applicant's beneficial use of the land. The approval for variance 12-1996 was due to an existing non-conforming structure, as the home was built in 1963, and thus that was the basis used for approval. The present request is to increase a non-conforming structure, which is the cause for the setback encroachment. Criteria B of the powers of the BA states that special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. The applicant is requesting that the non-conforming structure be expanded and that the required setback to be encroached for the placement of a bathroom addition. So staff is recommending denial of the request to allow a variance of 2.5 feet for the side corner yard setback for the placement of a building addition in the R1C zoning. Special conditions and circumstances do result from the actions of the applicant. The lot and home in its existing configuration does provide beneficial use of the land. The hardship has been created as a result of the proposed addition. So, let's see here. On page 71, and I think if we're all looking at the same document, it's a little hard to see, but the highlighted figure towards the top right corner, if you're able to zoom in, it shows where that proposed location, the proposed addition is going to be located. So essentially in 1996, the variance was approved so that 10 feet encroachment into the that 10-foot addition was encroaching into the 20-foot side yard corner setback, and the applicant is requesting that the addition be extended westward so that the height, what you're seeing in the highlighted is what the addition would be. So they're not requesting to further encroach towards the street, but to extend the wall of the home that is currently encroaching into the 20-foot side corner setback. So that was kind of the basis that the applicant was using as far as, requesting approval for the variance. And that was. So page, what is this? 86, you're able to see an image. So that addition back in 1996 was what the variance request was for, and it was granted so that the addition would be encroaching into that into that 20-foot side corner yard setback, an encroachment of 2.5 feet. So the applicant is requesting that the addition or that the variance be approved so that they can have an addition to enlarge that existing addition is essentially. So they would add on to that building wall. The next image is the image from Street View, where of course, like I just said, they're looking to add on to the existing addition westward and not towards the street or towards the sidewalk as you're looking. And so just to increase that addition westward. And that concludes my presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know whether the side yard setbacks were the same in 1996 when the variance was granted?
So I know that, like I said, the basis of the approval was that it is a non-conforming structure. So I don't know what the setbacks were, but I know it wasn't conforming to what the code mandated at the time.
Yes, sir.
In looking at the variance request for 96, it indicates that it's an existing non-conforming structure that closed, green porch that fronted on Knox McRae. Was that existing non-conforming developed because of widening of Knox McRae at the time? 10 years. Because it was that this building has been here since the somewhere along the timeline, their front yard or side yard setback, side yard available building area, nonconformity that's come about because of widening of the street. They had to go through a variance process. Existing nonconformity approved. So that's what I'm seeing. You disagree? Help me.
The applicant may be able to answer more on this topic as well.
Else? All right, what's our first card, please?
Pedro Pena.
Welcome. Name and the address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Pedro Panetta, AGI Construction Services. I'm the contractor. My address is 3685 Reddit Road, Orlando, Florida, 32822. Good evening. How's everybody tonight? Your question, Mr. Willis, on I don't know what happened. I wasn't involved in this in 96. From what I understand, when I first applied, the house is in disarray. We're remodeling the entire house. It was purchased about mid last year by a new owner. In fact, I think they bought it from the city or from the county, one of the two. But in the process of when I submitted for the remodel, this came up. Then I found out that there was a variance that was approved in 96 for what is now the family room that's going to be a bedroom eventually. And we're trying to put a second bathroom because the home only has one restroom. So the reason we want to go westward is to accommodate just for the bathroom and make the house a little bit marketable and certainly in better shape than it is right now.
The photos look pretty rough.
Yeah, yeah. I tried to get you the best pictures I could. I couldn't even find a previous survey on this property.
Are you planning on leaving it a flat roof? No slope roof, or put a new?
No, there's a new, over that bedroom, or what is the family room now, that's a bedroom, we're raising the wall, actually. Because it's, I guess, and of course I'm only guessing, it was non-conforming in 96, and I think it was a carport, actually, because the floor level is at a different level than the rest of the house, and the sidewalls are shorter, so we're actually building that up like 2 to 3 courses, filling in to make it the same level, and it's gonna get a slope roof there.
Put a new roof,
Yes.
slope roof on?
Yes. Flat roofs just don't do it anymore.
No.
They don't.
Just doing the math, you're increasing the square footage, 13 square feet.
By, let's see. No, 9 times 6, about 36 square feet to accommodate for the bathroom.
Oh, I'm sorry. The variance actually counts for 13.
Right. The actual addition is 6 by 9 4.
See it improving the neighborhood, definitely. Over
It's
what's
going to
there.
improve it.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
in agreement.
Any other questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate the opportunity to explain our case.
Certainly. Do we have another card, please?
No, sir.
All right, so no one else to speak. We'll go ahead and close the hearing to the public at this time. So, of course, they'll have to go through all the building permits and everything with you, with staff too. Of course, that's a new roof and everything else, so that'll go. Thank you. So that'll go through all y'all's review and everything, right?
Correct.
Well, I just know the area. I don't know this particular house, but pictures, I can see why I don't want to look at it when I ride by. It's a rough-looking house. It will definitely improve the neighborhood. You thought it would improve the neighborhood. What are your other thoughts?
My other thoughts are rules are rules. If the 1996 variance, the concept of give an inch, take a yard. If the 1996 variance says, we'll give you it this time, but it must comply in the future, I think that's significant. However, I don't know what the setbacks were in 1996, and if the board at that time had a particular understanding of what might come down the pike within that couple of years. It's meaningful. If now a road is expanded or a code had drastically changed to reduce the side corner setbacks, that might make a difference. I wish I knew what the code was in 1990. Because the 1996 variance is very clear. Yes, we're granting this variance, but you must comply for the future. In this particular matter, it would seem that compliance is possible in accordance with the 1996 variance. If that 1996 variance didn't exist, I think it might be I would have a different view of it. So if staff happens to know what the 1996 variant, the code was, I'd love to know.
I'm not sure if this answers what your question is, but I'm looking at the application for the variance from 1996. And the code requirement for the property was a side corner setback of 20 feet. And the variance requested was to reduce it to 17.5, a 2.5 foot variance request.
Okay, so the same side corner setback of 20 feet today.
That's what existed in 96, yes.
And that's the same as it is today, right?
Correct.
Yes, okay.
But what we don't know is the road was expanded and they moved this property line over. Whether it be in the 80s or 70s or whatever. That part of Knox McCrae is. Thing is,
From the 1996 variance application to further your understanding, the request and code requirement stated it was May 29th, 1996. The applicant is requesting a variance to a different code number of the LDRs in order to reduce the side corner setback from the code required 20 feet to 17.5 feet, a variance request of 2.5 feet. The applicant is requesting this variance in order to enclose an existing screen porch and turn it into a part of the living area, i.e. under air, of the principal structure. This existing screen porch presently encroaches into the side corner setback area, and a variance is required to permit the enclosure of this area.
So the screened-in porch
That was the non-conforming.
already was non-conforming.
Correct. It says also, that was determined in the report to be a special condition for the applicant based on review of aerial photographs. Staff determined that this structure's encroachment in the setback area is an existing non-conforming situation that has existed since the mid-1960s. The applicant at that time in 1996 was not expanding the area or square footage of the nonconformity. They were getting a variance to make the nonconformity approved by the building code. So that was in the back portion of the house.
So it's possible back in, when the house was built, it had the 20-foot setback.
It did.
And the expansion of the road took away, now it became non-conforming, so they had to come before 96 to correct that. Any other comments or questions of staff or discussion among themselves?
Hearing porch created by the city.
It's possible. We just know the road was expanded. Looking at it, I'm thinking when he built the house, and it was probably valid.
Lane on
Okay, Dave Road.
Your microphone?
Yes.
Not on, did I? Oh, I turned it off, sorry. 1996 variance for the encroachment suggests to me that the road was already expanded by that time. So at the time when this variance was heard, road was expanded, variance granted, same setback then as it is now, and the board specifically addressed this issue.
Did make that comment. Other comments? Question? All right. Wish to make a motion, please.
Chairman, I'd like to move to approve the request for variance 6-2022 LDR 2305 Parent C for 4230 Osceola. It's the side corner setback by 2.5 as requested in the application.
Okay, I have a motion
I second.
and I have a second. Any further discussion? May we have roll call, please?
Member Wheelis,
Yes. Oh, wait.
Yes?
alternate member Van Zildjian,
Yes.
Chairman Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez, Member Van Deven.
Yes.
Right? So, state a reason for the no. You have to state your reason.
I keep forgetting my mic. Res judicata. The board in 1996 specifically determined the issue at that variance.
Okay, thank you. Well, the motion's passed, so that will go forward. All right? Thank you very much. All right. Other one. All right. So next up, business variance number 7-2022. Address is 4670 South Street for a new business coming. All right. Staff, lighten us, please. What page?
Right, so page 92 of the agenda. All right, so the applicant's requesting a variance to to section 30-259, screening of dumpsters to allow dumpsters to be located in the front yard adjacent to an arterial street, which is State Road 405, for property located in the Community Commercial Zoning District, located at 4670 South Street. Let's see. The zoning is community commercial, and the surrounding zoning districts to the north, regional commercial; to the south, tourist; to the east, State Road 405 and community commercial; and to the west, community commercial. Lot characteristics: the property is 27,007 square feet in size, and the property has 176 feet of frontage on South Street. And a car wash use is currently located on the property, with the proposed use being a KFC restaurant. I'll move ahead to the analysis. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow the placement of a refuse facility, which is a dumpster enclosure, within the side yard for the proposed KFC development. Section 30-259 requires that the refuse facilities be located only within the side or rear yards, except when the yard is adjacent to a collector or arterial street. In this case, State Road 405 is adjacent to the side yard and is an arterial road. The applicant is proposing that the enclosure be located at the proposed location due to the configuration of the lot. The applicant said that due to the narrow configuration and size of the lot, there are no other viable locations where the enclosure can be placed. The applicant also stated that the allowable commercial space to be developed is compromised due to the project being an infill development. Dumpster enclosures must be in an enclosed space architecturally compatible with the building and landscaping. The dumpster location in the yard adjacent to an arterial road could be required to include additional screening and landscaping standards in order to mitigate the visual impacts of from the arterial road. Although the existing lot does meet the development standards of the CC zoning, there are numerous constraints on the site that impede the applicant's ability to place the dumpster enclosure in a location and remain in compliance with the requirement of the code. It is possible that the 14 by 11 foot dumpster enclosure can be relocated to the interior side yard, yet this would require for the applicant to eliminate one parking space, and thus they would not meet their required parking. So staff does recommend approval for the dumpster enclosure to be located along the side yard adjacent to an arterial street. The variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, and structure. The dumpster enclosure at the proposed location does provide the applicant beneficial use of the land without the need for an additional variance. And staff recommends the approval with the following condition. The condition is to, in addition to the visual buffer and screening requirements per Chapter 30, Article 3, Division 10, Subdivision 3, Section 30-339, the dumpster enclosure shall be screened with a wall and a 6-foot evergreen hedge.
Okay, so you stated if we move that dumpster to the back side on the other side over there, we'd lose a parking space. Is that correct?
Correct.
So it would not be, it would be non-conforming at that point.
Essentially correct. So on page 105,
Yes.
that shows you where the proposed dumpster enclosure would be located, which would be towards the front of the property and within the side yard, which is right along State Road 405, which is an arterial. We did look at some options for the applicant in determining whether or not they could have it located somewhere else that's in compliance with the code. And we did determine towards the western portion of the lot where there is or the proposed curb would be located. If they would move it in that general location on your page, it's right under that number 3. So we're able to look at that area, and essentially they would have to remove the parking that's proposed right where that number 3 is located. And that one parking space, like is mentioned in the staff report, would trip their required parking. So staff also did look at the circulation for the dumpster truck, whether or not it would be able to get through the bypass lane, it being 12 feet wide, in order to get the trash out of the dumpster location, and it should be able to move along there. It should be able to circulate through the 12-foot wide lane.
That location, it would have to circle the entire complex, saying, right?
The proposed location, correct?
Yes.
It would have to circle the entire lane. It would have to go through that bypass lane, and it should be able to be able to circulate through that. And that concludes my presentation.
So you are recommending screening with evergreen, you said, on the
Evergreen hedge and a wall as well.
a wall on top of the dumpster wall, or just
No, the
dumpster?
wall itself, and then the 6-foot evergreen hedge.
Okay, I see. Okay. To the that'd be east. That lack of a better word, big drainage ditch. Well, right there.
That's correct.
Access from 405 to that, right?
Correct.
Other questions of staff? Okay. Seeing none, we'll open up the public hearing, and our card, please.
Jeremy Anderson.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening. Jeremy Anderson. I'm with Common Oak Engineering. We're an engineering group out of the address of 1209 Edgewater Drive in Orlando. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Tidewater Development Group. I'm a professional engineer. I'm an engineer of record on this project. I just have a short presentation. I kind of wanted to walk through some of the elements of the design that went into getting to this point. I also want to talk a little bit about the existing structure there and the existing development, and kind of walk you through all of those the considerations that we've made to get to this point. This is a aerial exhibit. I'm sure you all are aware of where this site is, but it's in the Lowe's Shopping Center. It's in an out parcel in the Lowe's Shopping Center there at State Road 50 and South Street. This subject site is just to the south of the Aldi, which is just to the south of a private drive for the Lowe's Center called Serpentine Drive. So the development is located right there at the corner of South Street and that private Serpentine Drive. I have a couple of pictures there also of the existing conditions for the car wash. The property is a 0.62 acre site, and we're proposing a 1,500 square foot KFC. The requested variance is to allow the placement of the dumpster enclosure within the side yard of the proposed development. Section 30259 requires that refuse facilities be located only within the side or rear yards except when such yard is adjacent to a collector or arterial street. South Street is an arterial street, therefore we have to meet this setback criteria. I want to talk a little bit about that setback criteria because it's not necessarily positioned in a building setback. The criteria is that this dumpster enclosure is located between the principal facade of the building and the street right-of-way. So I have, can you see the screen on your, on what I'm showing on it? No? Okay. So I try to depict what we're talking about here with, okay, great. So the orange line is the principal facade line, and you can see the green being the dumpster enclosure. So that's explaining what is the variance right there. So I wanted to make sure that was clear. There are a number of nonconformities for the existing site that will be resolved with the approval of this variance and the approval of the site plan and the building plans. For example, the existing landscape buffers are not met, in particular on the east-hand side facing South Street, which is a very important buffer. That's an arterial road buffer requirement. It's 14.4 feet now. It's required to be 20 feet. We're proposing to bring that into conformance. Additionally, on the west-hand side, there is no landscaping whatsoever. It's just concrete parking to a concrete curb, and then concrete parking to the oil change right there to the west. So we are removing those nonconformities and creating those buffers that are required by code. Additionally, the site currently has very little interior landscaping, and there's no pedestrian access to any public sidewalks from the facility as well. Also, when viewing the existing facility from the intersection of State Road 50 and South Street, particularly when you're going eastbound and you're going to make that left up onto South Street, you can see that car wash facility really clearly. On the southern end of it is the automatic bay of that car wash facility, and it's an eyesore. It is a rickety, stick-framed looking structure that is in need of paint. The proposed conditions will include landscape buffers and interior landscaping, which are proposed to be met, which will result in a 66% increase in interior landscaping to the site, as well as a 26% increase of landscaping into the buffer areas. The resulting in Florida Grade 1 shade trees, understory trees, hedges, and ground cover be placed in those landscape areas. As you can see, we're proposing a pedestrian connection to a sidewalk we're proposing, which connects to the new sidewalk that's been recently constructed there on South Street. Of course, the use of the KFC in the building is unique in that it really is more catered to the drive-through customer. There are only a handful of seats. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact number of seats, but it's less than 10 for sure. It's really, this building is catered for the drive-through customer. Additionally, it includes, the building will include architectural enhancements as well. The site plan meets important design requirements such as parking, drive-through, stacking, pedestrian vehicle access, and landscaping. And we're down to this one item that just frankly doesn't fit. This is the landscape plan. We have a number of species that we're proposing to install here. We have proposed live oak trees, Florida elm and slash pines, crepe myrtles and sabo palms. For the ground cover, we are proposing emerald goddess lyrope, Indian hawthorn, variegated flax lily, and some mully grass. For the hedges, we have portocarpus, loropetalum, and viburnum. So this is just difference in textures and colors of materials to really add interest, and soften up the commercial nature of the use. proposed landscape drawing is to the right, and the existing picture of the site is up there to the left, and you can see that there's really not any interior landscaping out there right now. The requested variance is due to the existing geometry of the site. This is a available commercial zone property. It's a very small commercial property, but despite these challenges, we meet important site standards such as the parking requirement, the drive-through stacking, as well as landscaping, pedestrian, and vehicular access points into the site. And so all of those criteria are met. The site is only 0.62 acres in size. I know I've said that a number of times now. When you deduct the buffers that are required around the perimeters, and remember, it's a tight site. It's only just over 150 feet wide. We have a 20-foot buffer on one side and a 10-foot on the other. So we're reducing 30 feet of that width of that property right there. And so the resulting area is only 0.44 acres. And I've been a consultant in this field for my career. It is very hard to develop commercial zone sites like this, which is again why we keep talking about this infill redevelopment, the nature of the site. You're down to just a number of uses that can really afford the real estate and move into these commercial corridors. Things like you're seeing already there, like oil changes, car washes, like a coffee shop might work, but this site's even too small for a coffee shop because the wait time on those drive-through lines are really long and the stacking just doesn't work. We're proposing to make the dumpster enclosure architecturally enhanced and as well as, of course, screened per staff's recommendations. So we have, of course, read the staff report and we agree with the recommendation of approval, and I'd like to ask for your approval as well. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Do you have any questions of this applicant? Spelled it all right out nicely.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have no other cards, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we will close the public hearing and bring it back for questions or comments. Please come make a comment. Yes, I live down there close by. It will look a lot better than the existing car wash, the shape it's in today. Comment? Okay, motion then.
I move to approve variance 7-2022 at 4670 South Street, which is a variance to section 30-259 to permit screening of the dumpster and a dumpster located in a side yard to an arterial street, as suggested by staff, which would include a 6-foot-high enclosure as well as 6-foot-high landscape.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Very good. Any further discussion? Seeing none, may we have roll call, please?
Vice Chairman Smith Rodriguez. Member Van Deven.
Yes.
Member Wheelis.
Yes.
Alternate Member Van Zildejan.
Yes.
Chairman Taylor.
Yes. Congratulations. One hurdle. Sure, there's more. All right. Well, I see here that does all our new business. Not bad for that.
Naviel has something to tell you guys.
Oh, you're not. Never mind. Go.
No, I did want to let you guys know that this will unfortunately be my last meeting serving as the staff liaison with you all. I have accepted an offer in South Florida as a planner, so I'll be starting in next month. It's been a pleasure working at y'all's pleasure. Thank you, and I know that you guys will keep on the job going, fine job that you guys do, and it's been a pleasure working with you guys.
Sorry to see you.
We and the entire department are going to miss you terribly, Naviel.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know who's coming next month. Naviel, do you know if we have any applications on file? Are you?
Yes, with those Fox Hollow, they're definitely on the docket. So we know
Oh,
we
the
have
other
at least, yeah,
lots that didn't make it on this one.
it's at least two of them.
Well, that'll be easy to, to cover.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that is.
I'll be working in Fort Lauderdale.
I got
Yeah, it's been exciting. And then I look at rent prices, and then I'm
And
gonna shed a
traffic.
tear. But
Don't forget the traffic.
yeah, and the traffic I'm from South Florida, so I'm used to that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not used to these exorbitant living.
We'll always take you back.
I've been told that. So I have to keep y'all's number in my back pocket.
When he gets tired of living in his tent or his car, he'll come back. Okay.
Honestly, it's looking like that.
All right. Anything else for staff to enlighten us on? That's nothing for you. Anything from the membership? Here? Nothing new? Everybody still here? All right. Just to remind the public, we do still have a vacancy for a full-time, right? Or permanent, what do you call it? What do we call it? Permanent member?
I don't believe they discussed it last night. They are accepting applications.
Yes, they're still
Still.
accepting applications.
And it's for one of those specialists in the building trades or related industries that are specified in the city's code. It's not just for the public at large. It has to be one of those specialty people with experience.
Correct. All right. So just to make that mention, sorry I wasn't with y'all last month, but I was having a good time in Tallahassee that day. So I-10 coming home. So anything else? Not, we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Board of Adjustments and Appeals meeting. Coming up next, the Florida Channel, already in progress.
Department of State's Division of Historical Resources.
Coming up, Capital Update.
Welcome to Capital Update, your review of state government for Wednesday, February 23rd. I'm Mike Laquia. The full Senate confirmed several appointees by the governor, including Dr. Joseph Ladapo, who serves as the state's Surgeon General and Secretary of the Department of Health. Democrats disapprove of Ladapo's views on how to handle the pandemic. Senators in both parties also talked about Ladapo's refusal to wear a mask in Senator Tina Polsky's office when she asked him to. He has breast cancer.
The incident of a lapse of judgment of bedside manner, and I think he's guilty. He's guilty. If we want to judge him on bedside manner, one incident, and I'm really sorry. I'm sorry it happened. I wish I could have been there to coach him and to make sure that's okay, but I'm just so glad. I'm so glad you don't judge me on my worst day.
Despite that incident, Republicans see him as the right fit to be the state's top doctor.
This is 33 pages of what this gentleman has done since graduating 11 years ago. My father was a research scientist at the University of Florida for 38 years. I can tell you, I've seen a lot of his colleagues and what they've done in their time. This is 11 years of what he's been able to accomplish. This is amazing. This guy, I think, is the American dream.
My vote against your confirmation today is not a vote against your success. So please understand that. And hopefully when we see you in the future, that you have built confidence with all members of this body, not just some.
The majority in the Senate voted to approve Dr. Ladapo as the state's Surgeon General. The confirmation is final. Installing solar panels could be less cost-effective for homeowners in the coming years under a bill advancing through its final House committee. However, supporters of the bill say solar owners shouldn't get a break on their electric bills through net metering at the expense of other customers.
Solar owners both buy electricity from the grid and send electricity back